Hello, everybody. Wait.
Knocking the rust off. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 40. Did I say 44 or
Yeah,
45?
Reggie Jackson, 44.
40,
Oh, wait.
episode 44.
Or did you say the last one was 44? This is 40.
No, I think the last one was 43. This
Okay.
is 44. Welcome to episode 44 of the Comic Room Pod. We are back. Mr. Longbox is stateside once again.
that's
We're
right.
here in person. Took a couple weeks off, but here we are.
back in the States, rocking my, representing where I was.
Are you an Italian racer now?
You
With
know,
the
if
hat?
someone wants to give me a McLaren, I am. Yeah, sure. I'll do it.
Nice. F1 racing.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost 5 weeks in Europe.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Florence, Rome, and Venice, and then the last week in Budapest, actually.
Nice.
Which was cool. Yeah, it was a good experience, a good time. Had 15 students we were touring about for the first 4 weeks, and the last Budapest was kind of a speaking engagement for my colleagues. So
Nice.
we got to be the ones getting toured around for
Yeah.
that part. So it was really nice. So great time, a lot of walking. Really glad to be back. If you ever go to Europe, I tell you, and if you happen to be my age, especially, you'll have to deal with bathroom anxiety. It's a real thing. There just
Define
aren't
that.
there just aren't bathrooms.
Really?
They just aren't around. Public restrooms are really hard to come by, and unless you sit down at a restaurant, then there's usually one toilet,
Wow.
the whole restaurant. So, and you're walking around in Italy, and it's hot. So if you're unless you have some kind of a self-harm intentions, you're drinking a lot of water. You have to, and so you really have to think through. And then if a lot of times you have to shell out €1.20 to use it. So one thing I missed a lot was just the ubiquity of public restrooms in the United States. It's crazy. Like you walk into just some McDonald's because you have to go, and you walk in at the door and there's 10 urinals and 5 stalls, in a guy bathroom. It's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then what you have to get accustomed to if you're going to be in Europe, and you probably heard this, ice is a real commodity there. Just not going to get much of it. If you ask for ice, if you just get a Coke, you will get a Coke in a glass. If you ask for Coke with ice, they may give it to you, they may not. But if they do, you're getting like 3 little tiny pieces that will melt before
Interesting.
that's about it.
Why is that?
I think it's just culturally not part of it for them to do ice, but also I think the reason it's not culturally part of that part of the world is they don't have a lot of the infrastructure that we have here. A lot of this isn't true for every part of Europe, but you just don't see the electric grid being quite as strong as what we have here, and so they don't. Air conditioning is the third thing. You're just not going to get much air conditioning. For another thing is. Homes all have washers, but they don't have dryers.
Oh.
So things that use a lot of electricity just don't happen.
Yeah.
And these are old cities, so they just don't have the infrastructure. It's not as things you think about. These cities, these are cities built in like 1200, crazy stuff like that, and so they just kind of make it work. But so you can get it some places, but not very often. So
What about like coffee shops? Like if you get an iced coffee or an iced latte?
a typical Italian coffee shop will just look at you like you're crazy if you order an iced latte or an iced anything. They just go like, we have like 4 things here. You want an espresso, which they call a cafe. You want a cappuccino, or you want Americano. Maybe a macchiato. Maybe that's about it. And they won't give you a cappuccino after a certain point if you're in a truly authentic place. Like I was at a place where I went in and ordered 10 cappuccinos for the group that was with me. And he just looked at me, and we were regulars at this place. It was near where we were staying, and he just said, "No, I can't. You don't drink cappuccinos with salami sandwiches." And I mean, it was weird. I'm like, I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. And he was the nicest guy in the world. He was right, but that was that. And but there are a few, like you can find a Starbucks there, here and there. They're starting to show up, or like a McDonald's. So I think in those places you can expect to get that. And they have a few other. Non-conforming coffee shops that have air conditioning and try to do it the way we expect to see it here in America. And they typically most cappuccinos like €2 to €3. That's it, and that's regulated. They don't want it to be expensive. But these other places, they don't have those same regulations. So you can get it, but it's going to cost you
Yeah.
more.
Well, I mean, if you're getting AC and like a fuller experience.
Places with AC are clutch
Yeah.
in Florence. Like you're just like, where's that place I'm hanging out there for? The Lego store in Florence has AC. You know, so does the Gucci store, but I'm not hanging out in the Gucci store. They let me hang out in the Lego shop. You know? So, but it was a great experience. I love Italy. I love the people. It's a great. A lot of history. If you like art, it's awesome.
Yeah. Interesting. The La Marzocco is home base in Italy.
Yeah, it's based on the lions that are in this square, the main square in Florence called the Palazzo Vecchio. Has two lions. One's from they got it from Rome, so it's like first century, and the second one they made it in the Renaissance to emulate the one on the other side. They're side by side on top of these stairs, and they're called they're the Marzocco lions. That's how the name on the cappuccino.
I didn't know that. That's
based
the
on
logo
that.
too. I don't know if you've ever seen the La
Yeah, I
Marzocco
have.
logo.
Yeah. So they're everywhere over there.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So I brought you something from Italy though.
Oh, all right.
So I'm gonna give that to you now. And it came from all the comic shops in Italy are the same. They're called Panini. It's a Panini shop. Like if you and check out the bag, dude.
Proud to be nerd.
Proud to be
Proud to be nerd.
proud to be nerd. So I'm like cruising around Florence with this bag in my hand, like owning it, right, repping it. So there's a cool story. The Panini comic shop in Florence. There's just one, and I was there in 2023, and I went in and I met the guy, and I showed him like a picture of the LCS, and and I took a picture of him with our little LCS in town, the Arsenal comic, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, same guy is still working there.
Wow.
And he remembered me. I showed him a picture. He's like, yeah.
Wow, cool.
So I don't know if he really remembered me or he was just being cool, but
Yeah.
either way, it was fun. And so I went through the boxes and I found some cool stuff because everything's like a year to 2 years behind there. So you can get things there that are already stashed away in collector's boxes here. So I got, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see I got a handful of Tedesco Daredevil covers. That's pretty much, you know, and
nice.
and that Virgin Momoko cover for X-Men Unlimited. Was not Unlimited, X-Men Ultimate X-Men 1. And I don't know if that's, I couldn't get it here. I know that.
Yeah.
So I got that for cover price. But I was looking for stuff for you, and they don't have any back issues there. They just don't. They have tons of graphic novels and and new stuff, which isn't entirely new to us.
Yeah. That's what it was like in Japan too.
Same. Yeah. So yeah.
There wasn't. I mean, there probably wasn't anything older than 2018, maybe. Like, and that was just because like the shop that I went to like had the Batman run. Like the most recent Batman run, just kind of going all the way back to like before Punchline, and that was pretty much the oldest that he had in the
so
shop.
you can find some cool stuff, and people do like those foreign language comics, and there's a lot of collectors of those. So like for instance, I got cover price first Elektra as Daredevil.
Wow,
in Italian.
nice.
And I proceeded to crease the bottom left corner in my travels. So it's like all the ones the rest of them came back perfect, but that one had a color breaking crease that I put in it.
Dang. Did you bring the box to Italy? The little boxes that we bring to cons?
No, but I couldn't fit it, and actually I probably could have fit it, but I forgot about it, and that would have saved it. So I messed that up.
Next time.
Next
if
time.
there is a next time.
I'll probably go again next year.
Nice.
But I got some really cool first appearances from that Tedesco covers run.
Yeah.
You know, like Daredevil's son. You know, weird stuff like, or thinks he's Daredevil's son.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got this one here. I talked to the guy. His name's Andrea, and I said, Andrea, my son-in-law loves a couple things, you know, cool Batman stuff, cool Spider-Man stuff, definitely cool Daredevil stuff. I'm looking for something that's uniquely Italian that would be definitely here, you know, all of it's uniquely Italian, but do you have anything? And he's like, I look for you, you know, I'll come back tomorrow, you know? So I came back a couple days later and he had a few things that maybe, and the one that he
cherry picked.
Yeah,
from an
cherry-picked
Italian.
from
Here, let me cover my eyes.
Andrea in the Panini shop in Florence, curated for you, and you now here it is. It's issue 1 of Devil's Reign, but it's different. You got to take it out of the miler and check it out. First thing you notice is it's 1 of 4.
Yeah,
which ours is 1 of 6. So they've changed the storyline. The back cover.
Is
sick. but pull it out and you'll see what I mean. As soon as I saw it, I knew that's the thing for Joshua.
So here's the other thing: is Marco Cicchetto does the cover art for this, and he's a local Italian.
Sure sounds Italian, yeah.
So I don't know what part of.
But check
Okay,
out.
so it's got an acetate cover.
Yep.
Let's see, boom. And the back cover is sweet. It's like a pinup.
Yeah. Now play around with the acetate.
Oh,
It's got all this extra stuff. in
oh,
it.
cool.
It's got
It's
all
got
this.
the pencil sketch cover.
Yep. And inside, it's thicker. You have it shows you all the variant covers at some point in that issue. And the paper is different. It's all glossy.
Oh yeah, there it is in the back. I have that one.
Yeah, that's the Momo one, right?
Yeah, Momoko Electro one.
But look at the back acetate one. That's my favorite. Peel that thing off.
Whoa. Okay, so then it's pretty much like a perfect match. You open it and it's a sketch.
And
that's super cool.
Let me see that thing. I was going to see. It's the coolest. I thought it was really cool.
I don't know why I'm being all careful with it. It's acetate. That thing's gonna hold.
So look, it's got two things. First, this peels off,
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
and then this thing. It's two acetates,
Wow.
and then you get to the black and white
To the sketch. Wow.
So anyway,
That's so cool.
I thought it was a really cool piece.
Yeah, that is
unique from a
super rad.
storyline that's probably going to be season 5 of the TV of the Daredevil.
Yeah.
She's got to be, right. So a cool piece to have.
So why is it 4 and not 6?
I don't know. I don't read Italian, but I'd like to put them side by side and kind of figure out what's, maybe they obviously condensed it into 4. That's a lot thicker than Devil's Reign 1, our version.
Yeah.
So I think they just break the story at different spots or something.
Wow. Super cool.
But yeah, I knew it was cool for you because I didn't want to give it to you. I wanted it, but no, I'm just kidding. I was really stoked.
Actually, this is the first time I'm gonna break this out. Clear backing boards.
Yeah, there
This
you
is
go.
perfect.
That's what that needs.
I've
Notice I didn't put a backing board in it.
Yeah.
I can't do it because that's one of the coolest parts of the book is the back cover with the double acetate. It's a triple back cover basically.
So I've had this for since I think this is a newer company, and I bought this pack on their first drop.
Yeah, every collector's got to have a stack of those because every now and then there are books that have a sick back cover.
And I've yet to actually. I mean, I just opened it here, so you all
There you
know.
go. Now's your time. So probably peel those. Yeah.
Just the one.
Yep. No, there's 2. I remember I bought a poster, a really cool original movie poster, not a repro, and I got this cool frame for it that's supposed to keep the sunlight out. And for the longest time, I'm like, I don't like the frame though because it makes everything look so cloudy. And I realized I just had not taken off the 2 things. So it took a year for me to figure it out.
Wow. Suppose you got the guts to say that here.
I'm not afraid. I have no pride.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, I like those clear backings for Golden Age books because Golden Age books, you just the advertisements on the back are cool
Yeah.
and worth having.
Buy this toy gun. That's actually a real gun.
Right? Exactly. They're selling Daisy rifles and stuff like that to kids. It's sponsored by the NRA, things that would never fly.
Yeah.
And so that thing I actually carried on 4 separate flights because I refused to put it in my luggage to get checked because I tried to bring a cool glass back for Dara last time from Venice and it broke. I'm like, this thing's coming back cherry. I'm not messing it up.
Yeah. There we go.
So-
It's in
Yeah,
clear backing board.
that's amazing.
Wow. The first time I ever used it, I'm happy.
Yeah, right on.
I'm starting to think I wasted my money buying those, but
No, you'll when you want to use it, it's nothing better.
Yeah,
So, you know what I
exactly.
mean? It's the only thing. So
awesome. Thank you. That's really cool.
yeah, I was really happy. So thank you to Andrea if you're watching this from Florence. He liked it. So thank you.
Also, Chichetto is probably like my favorite modern interior artist. Maybe interior artist of all time. I mean, I like his covers. His covers are very simple, but his interior art, like the
Nice.
way he can draw characters, like you could read. I feel like this isn't true with everything that I read, and I'm reading like quite a handful of like new stuff right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Chichetto, you could take the words away, and I can get a grasp of the story, and I can specifically what I find most impressive is he conveys so well what the characters are feeling.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that lets the writers, you know, compared to like Stan Lee era, like pre Miller, where they had to explain everything and like
Yeah.
there was so much writing on the page, and you know it's a lot of tell instead of showing. But Chichetto is so good that he just conveys, because he does a lot of close-ups.
Right.
He'll do a lot of like I'm reading, he's doing Ultimate Spider-Man right now with Jonathan Hickman, which Jonathan Hickman is probably up there as one of the greatest comic writers of all time. Like as far as like expanding a universe and like not like specific storytelling, right? Because you think of like Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams,
Right.
or you think of Frank Miller that are just like focused in, dialed in. But you talk about like world building in like the
Right.
comics. I'm not sure anybody does it better than Hickman. So Hickman is writing Ultimate Spider-Man, and Chichetto is doing the art for it. And Chichetto will just have like these really cool close-ups on the characters, which I feel like you don't really get too much, because they try to kind of give you like a big panoramic view of like this is what your hero is like doing or like fighting or whatever, or like this is the context in which these two characters are like communicating in, and they want to draw like this nice, and it's really pretty most of the time. But yeah, these like close-ups
Doesn't serve the story always.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean a really good writer artist team in comic book format, they're both telling the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's not a good formula for a writer to say, here's my script, execute it. Like that's not gonna, you know, and you don't see I don't see a ton of good interior art anymore. I see a lot of, I don't know if it's AI art or what, I want to say it isn't, but you know, I think it's probably going to head that way. But they invest a lot, the publishers, in the covers, because that's what gets us to buy. But then you open the inside and go, wow, what a big disappointment compared to the cover. Like what on earth? Yeah. So, you know, you gotta appreciate the good artists.
It's a big reason why I put down the current Daredevil run, was just because, I mean, from top to bottom, I think it's bad. From John Romita Jr.'s covers, I think are
inferior,
just not great.
Okay.
And I think that the writing is subpar. And I think that the interior, I don't even remember who's doing the interior, but it just is ugly. I know it's rude, but it's just it's tough to read. And I feel like there's times where like you have a good story or you have good art. Let's say you have a good story and you have like a little bit of like lackluster art, but the story can help like pull the art up. Or like you have a little bit of lackluster story, but sometimes the art can help pull that story up. And I just feel like that's not happening on the current Daredevil. I feel like it's all from the cover all the way down to the bottom. It's just they're all hurting each other.
Man.
So let's turn that around, Daredevil.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's tough financially to make a go of it. You know, maybe it'll turn out to be that the best interior art, the best comic book products are going to be done by small independent publishers with young artists that are just cutting their teeth, good writers, good artists that don't command a premium yet. They're willing to work for nothing because they're kind of making a name for themselves, and they're putting out amazing stuff, and then they get expensive.
Yeah.
You know, almost like trying to build a sports team you don't want, you know, you got the guy in the rookie contract. So, I mean, that's what I found. Like I found the best storytelling that I've been reading lately has been more the independent, you know, the independent stuff. So
I'm excited because I don't know if it's already out or if it's coming out soon, but Fantastic Four is having like their refresh in numbers. So basically like a new writer artist team, and Humberto Ramos is
really
doing the art.
Okay.
And I mean, he's also excellent.
Yeah.
He did a lot of old school Spidey stuff, like Silk. He was the artist for Silk. He did Strange Academy.
Yeah.
So
come on, it's the flagship.
Yeah, I'm forgetting who's writing it. Sometime when you're talking, I'll look it up.
Well, I finally completed my Jonathan Hickman graphic novel run of that issues 1 through volumes 1 through 3 of the Hickman run at FF. So that's at the top of my summer list to read because
great.
You know, I've heard so much about it and I know I'm gonna love it because I love the characters. So anyway, all right. So show and tell, right?
Show and tell. I'll go first.
All right, that's right. You go first. Sorry.
Yes. All right. So show and tell. This summer I haven't bought hardly anything. But I did buy a collection the other day. I guess I'll talk about that later. But I haven't bought hardly anything for myself. So this is a book that I bought at WonderCon, which genuinely might have been the last time I bought a book, which would have been March. And this book was the focal point of my WonderCon video, was asking ChatGPT to recommend me a book, an investment level book, at a $500 budget. I felt like that was like that was probably honestly like even like under or lowballing like what people might bring to a con. But a $500 budget was what I gave ChatGPT, and they recommended me a few books: Marvel Spotlight 5, Daredevil 168, X-Men 120. I don't remember which one it is.
Like 121 First Alpha Flight or something like that.
No, it's the one where Juggernaut's like holding something up on the cover. I'm forgetting the number. It's like right around First Dazzler. It's like in the late 120s, I think. Or
was it the one with the first like solo Wolverine story or something like
it's
that?
It's around there.
Like 129. Yeah.
It's somewhere. Yeah, it might be 129.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I looked at every wall at WonderCon, and I just couldn't find these books. And so then I kept going back to ChatGPT. Okay, give me another recommendation. Give me another recommendation. And it finally gave me. Well, actually, one of the first ones that it had given me that I couldn't find anywhere was Green Lantern 76. First, Neil Adams and Neil O'Neill combo on the Green Lantern run, and I looked to and fro for that book. I saw some like really low grade copies, which were too far below budget, and I saw a couple like really like high grade. Like some, I think I saw an 8.0 and an 8.5, like out of the budget.
Yeah,
couldn't buy it.
$700-800 for those.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm finding under my price and above my price. I can't find around my price. And then I went to good friend Blue Chip Comics, who I've bought a handful of really nice pieces from, and he's got like half of the Green Lantern. Neil Adams, Denny O'Neill run on the wall slabbed. And so I was like, man, you don't got a Green Lantern 76? I was like, I'm looking for one for this video. Yeah. And he's like, wait, it's not up here? I was like, no. And he's like, I got one somewhere. And then he like pulls out a box from under the thing. And this is a short box that he had under his table that like none of us would have known this short box was there. Okay. He pulls this short box out and it's just keys. Like, and I'm like, brother.
Well, he is called Blue Chip Comics, man.
Yeah, I mean, he had a 7.0 Detective 31 on the wall. So, yeah. So, so he's like, look through that box. He's like, I might have one in there. And he's like, if I don't, I'm sorry. So I was like, no worries. So I'm looking through. Boom. I hit it. I find it. I'm looking at the condition and I'm like, okay, we are playing ball. Like, this is exactly where we should be. Yeah. So I think I was looking at like 6.0 would have been on the lower end. I think I would have been closer to like 400 out of 6.0, and then 7.0 would have been like right around 500. So I was pretty much looking for a 6.0, 6.5, 7.0, ideally CGC. Couldn't find it, but he shows me this we find this raw copy, and I asked, can I take it out the bag? He's like, yeah, of course. We're looking at it, and he's like, all right. He's like, yeah, it kind of looks like it'd be a 7.0, and I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm fine, like agreeing with it on a 7. I was like, I could see it coming back a 6.5. I don't think I see it coming back a 7.5. But I was like, I'm cool with agreeing on a 7. That's fine with me. So we negotiated price. I think I bought it for around like 360, 370. I think like somewhere in there.
Okay. What a deal, man! That's
we shook on it. He sold it to me, And then I also bought this from him right as I was walking away. I was like, well, how much you want for that? And then he gave me a good deal on that. So anyways, long story. I got that book, completed the challenge, but the real challenge was getting it graded. What does CGC have to say about this book?
Yep.
And CGC could say anything about books.
As we all know.
you never know. I bought an Avengers 1 late last year, raw, for I think the agreed upon condition was a 2.5. That's what the person selling it said. I agreed with it. I sent it in, it comes back a 4.0. How in the world are we both 1.5?
That's a big number.
That's crazy. So I'm sending it in, and I'm like, dude, as soon as I sent it off, I'm like, dude, this doesn't even have a chance at a 6.5. Like, this is a 6.0.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing. To my surprise, as you all know, you're refreshing CGC every day. For me, it's between like 2 to 3 p.m., or at least on our time, which is kind of where you either get the update like early in the morning or it's late in the afternoon, like probably before their closing time. So for us, it's about like 2, 3 p.m. because we're on the Pacific side of the U.S. So scrolling both times of those days, and it finally hits grading, encapsulation, imaging. And you're like, okay, a few more days. Get to the day where it says shipped. And when it says shipped is when you can check the grade. Boom, click it open. And to my great surprise, Green Lantern 76 in an 8.0 white pages.
Oh my gosh. What a beautiful book.
Absolutely
white
shocked.
Pager.
So the reason why I did not think that this was even going to get a 7.5 was because there's like a crunch color break down here on the bottom left of the spine. And just in things that I've submitted to CGC, they've been pretty harsh on that in the past. So, and there's like, I mean, some other stuff. The spine is generally nice, but 8.0 white pages. I think I won the challenge. I think.
Yeah, you most definitely won the challenge. Yeah, that's. I have an 8.0 Green Lantern 76. We should put them side by side and compare.
Yeah.
The thing about this book is it shows every little thing. So it can deceive you. You can look at it and say, oh, this is like a 6.0.
Yeah.
But it actually doesn't have that many defects. It just shows them.
Yeah.
But white pages, dude? White pages?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is considered to be the start of the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So ChatGPT did you well with that?
Yeah.
That's a winner.
They did me an actual service here because they did kind of a double service. They did a service to me and to Blue Chip because Blue Chip might not have sold that book that weekend.
No, well, he wouldn't have because it wasn't on the wall.
Yeah. So that totally would have been dependent on how many raw wall books they sold and they're replacing them. So
what are you going to do with that book? Is that book go into your inventory? Do you sell it? I know how you feel about white pagers.
So I will say this. When I bought this book and I was looking through it, I knew it was going to be white pages. Okay. So that pretty much helped me. Like if I was on the fence, that was going to make me buy it kind of regardless because I knew it's like, okay, if it comes back a 6.5, it's going to be white pages. Like they're really nice pages.
Right. And I know that CGC delineates page quality and it's there. But page quality has to affect the number too. I mean, I think it would. Like if I have a book and it's otherwise going to be a 5.0, when everybody looks at it's a 5.0. I say I have two copies. One copy has snow white pages, and one copy has brittle pages. There's no way they're both getting a 5.0. I mean, I think that has to. I mean, it's the pages. It's the bulk of the book.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, in that case, maybe this one's still a 5.0, but the one that's got brittle pages has to go down to at least like a 4, maybe a 3.5, because the brittle pages is significant.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that.
We'll have to check the CGC handbook.
But I don't think you can just separate pages as, well, it's the grade based on the cover and how it looks, and then we just tell you what the page quality is. Page quality is part of the grade.
Yeah.
It's got to be part of the grade. So white pager, man.
Yeah. Woo. So I was very happy about it. To answer your question, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think I'm going to hold on to it for a while. So I've accidentally been buying up the Green Lantern run just in collections that I've got. So I might just try to put together, and I have now the two biggest keys. I have
80 you have the first John Stewart.
Do I have an 8.0 of that also, or is it a 7.0?
It's like a 7.0, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about
Yeah.
that one before. Yeah, that's
So-
it's a higher grade than the one I have. Mine's like a 5.5.
Yeah, so I've got the two biggest keys, and I think I have almost all of the rest. I have the drug issue, so that's like probably with the third biggest
That's
in
the
that
third
run.
biggest, yes.
And I think the rest are probably all like $20 to $40 books, maybe,
They're
like in
more-
mid range.
Yeah, mid range. Yeah, you're talking like
Which I think is what mine
$40.
is.
Yeah, something like that. It just depends. But yeah, I just got an order back from CGC that included 5 from that run graded, and now I have the full run 76 to 89, all slabbed.
Beautiful.
The 8.0, they run from an 8.0 is my 76 is an 8.0. I've got one as low as like a 4.5, I think. One of them that I had from when I was a kid, kind of as a 4.5.
Yeah.
And then one all the way up to a 9.6, which is issue 89. So now I'm not sure. Like, I've completed it. Am I satisfied? Not. Yes and no. Like, I'm thinking maybe I want to set a minimum grade and get them all in that minimum grade.
Yeah.
Like maybe a 7.0 for everything
Yeah.
would be kind of fun, because most of them are above north of a 7.0. I got a lot of them are in the 9s and 8.5s. They're really, there's a high grade set. Unfortunately, the first John Stewart, if I had kept the one I had as a kid, that would have been a high grade, but I
Yeah.
sold that one. So I bought another one in a 5.5 because that's what I could afford. It's not a big bump to sell that book and buy a 7.0.
Yeah.
I could do that. And then maybe the drug issue, which is issue 85, I think that's like a 4. That's the 4.5. So that one's a little bit pricier too, but not too much.
Yeah. I think mine's higher than a 4.5, but it's
Oh
raw.
yeah, yours like a 7.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's great. That's ChatGPT. I love the suggestion when we were at one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great suggestion. That's actually a really good investment book.
Yeah.
I love that book.
So yeah, I'll probably hold on to it for a while. If I have the whole collection raw, like aside from those two keys raw, then I'll probably just save it for a claim sale at some point and just have it in my back pocket, and then be ready to be like, all right, Green Lantern Neil Adams Day, let's get rolling. So
At some point, I do believe, they're never actually hot necessarily. They don't wind up on hot lists too often because they're not tied, except for the first John Stewart. But typically, it's not first appearances and all that. But they're just universally recognized as classics and historic. So they always have value. They've gone up. They haven't really gotten a lot of the Neil Adams bump that the Batmans have. When Neil Adams passed and things got more valuable, they haven't been the beneficiary of that yet. I don't think. Maybe this one, but they will.
yeah.
They will. They're great. Great stories. They've been anthologized 100 times.
Yeah.
So great pickup, man. I love
Thank
that
you.
book. That's one of my favorite all-time books right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so here's mine. And my show and tell is you guys, you all know the story. You know my love for the Fantastic Four. You know that I went to the same WonderCon looking to buy a book. I decided while I was there that I was going to go ahead. My friend convinced me, just sell some of your other books and tell yourself you're going to sell some other books, and then set yourself free to spend $1,000 on a book if you want. To find a book that you.
And you've sold books?
And I did, and I definitely did that. So, and so I've shown this one to you before. It's I think it's been on my show and tell before, but it got slabbed.
Yeah.
The deal was I bought, it's Fantastic Four 12. I'll just tell you that it's Fantastic Four 12, and there were 3 different Fantastic Four 12s I was looking at this convention. One was already in a slab in a 4.5, but I didn't like the eye appeal of it, and he wanted all the prices were about the same. Right around 900, 950. They're all in that range, 1,000, all in that range. And then there was another one that was less in a lower grade, and I just didn't want the one in the lower grade. And there was a raw one that was listed at a 4.5, and I looked at it. Great eye appeal, really good color. you know, had some things, had a little like slight tears in the back cover, you know, and a slight spine split on the thing on the top. But the eye appeal was a thing for me,
Yeah.
you know, and I looked at it, I flipped through every one of the pages. And so I pulled the trigger on that one. I made an offer. I think I ended up paying $950 for it or something like that.
Yeah, you paid like $950, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two. So, so you pressed it, you looked at it, and you said to me, "Hey, Bob, it could be anywhere from a 3.5 to a 4.5. You know, that's the range, just so you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I got it back, and
The low grade stuff, by the way, can be like, it can be tough because like sometimes like we are harder on some defects than CGC might be,
Right.
but CGC might be harder on other defects than
Right.
we might be.
exactly. So, as we know, it is somewhat of a roll the dice with CGC. You never, you know, some things just don't make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, for good and for bad. We've talked about this. You win some, you lose some. I've learned you got to roll with it. So it comes back a 3.5.
3.5.
Okay. Now you might be thinking, "Oh, Bob's so bummed. He wishes he bought the 4.5." Actually, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds weird because, you know, 3.5 is a whole grade less than a 4.5. It's a whole point. That's significant financially. But as you guys also know, especially when it comes to Fantastic Four, I'm not investing.
Yeah.
I'm collecting.
Yeah.
And what I wanted was this book. It looks really sharp, right?
The colors are fantastic.
It looks even better in the slab than it did raw.
Yeah, it does.
But you know, it's got a little date mark there, which just doesn't really affect the grade. But you know, the back cover, it's got a little bit of a tear here. Some, you know, I think the guy was a little bit harsh on it. You know, I thought maybe not a 4.5, but a 4.
Yeah, I think my final. Well, I think when I sent it off, or before I sent it off, I think I was pretty doomsday about it, and I think I was like, yeah, this might be a 3.5, but I was optimistic about a 4, and I think a 4 would have been fair on that book also.
Yeah, but it's beautiful eye appeal. It's off-white pages. It doesn't have any creases on the front cover. That's the thing. Just there aren't any. It looks fresh and clean here. Check it out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's one of those things where you have to you just have to decide in your heart whether or not you're going to let yourself be unhappy about something that you should be happy about. And I'm really proud to own that book, and it's a beautiful copy.
Heck yeah.
I bought it from the guy, and he had it listed as a 4.5. It comes back rated as a 3.5. Just so you know, I hold absolutely zero animosity or ill will toward the guy who sold it to me who had it as a 4.5.
Yeah.
Zero. You know why? Because it's subjective. And it's not like he didn't let me go through the book. I went through every single page.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
at that point, he's off the hook.
Yeah.
I decide if I think it's worth that price.
Right.
And I did. So I'm not going to name dealers or anything, but no problem. Dude, if you happen to be watching, no problem. I'm totally fine with this book. I love this book. And I have compared it to other copies, and I just don't see the Hulk that green and the Thing that orange and the Torch that red. I just don't. Like it's you know, you buy the book that's the book you want.
Yeah.
And you hope CGC agrees with you because it makes your collection more valuable. But in the end, I don't intend to sell this book ever. I love this book. You know?
Yeah.
I would take this book still over the 4.5 that I said no to because it had a tear like right here and like something nasty up here.
I remember that. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I would only see that thing, you know? So 4.5.
You probably could.
2.5.
Here, put that book up top. I feel like you probably could send that into like a legit, like deep cleaner type pressing person and probably get a bump.
Yeah. You know, these are not show and tells.
But that's more money investment. So
I got to show these two things, but they're not part of the show and tell. But I brought them because it's part of the discussion of CGC that I knew would come up with this one. I bought this book, as you guys know, Batman 42.
nice.
The second Catwoman cover, first time Catwoman appears on the Batman cover, on the Batman title, and I bought it on a claim sale from a guy, and again, no ill will. He sold it to me as a 2.5, detached cover. So, and it comes back a 1.8. but they don't note that it's a detached cover, which is odd.
Yeah.
But if you go to CGC, it says so.
Yeah.
But this is a 1/8, right? Whatever. This one here, this is Batman 35, which is the first time Catwoman appears in this black cover. This is the cover that we all, I'm sorry, costume that we all know and love. I bought this on a claim sale, and we all acknowledge it was a beat up copy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chewed up. Like this whole thing is coming apart.
Yeah, I can see on the side that there's like the pieces missing.
Yeah, pieces are missing on the spine. The staples are severely rusted. There's chunks missing here and on the bottom. There's chunks coming out of the back cover.
It's got a crazy spine roll.
Yeah, it's all spine roll and whacked out. These pieces are missing over here. The thing comes back at 2.0. I don't know how that's possible at all. But if you look at the two, so this one ends up being a just like this one financially a loss because I paid 2.5 price and I got a 1.8 grade. This one I paid basically a 0.5 price and got a 2.0 grade. So it all evens out. It's like we were saying, you win some, you lose some. And if you're going to be in the grading business, if you're going to subject yourself to a third, that's cool. If you're going to subject yourself to a third party grader to basically add value to your comics, then you don't really have a right to whine and complain when the grade doesn't come out the way you want, because what we don't do is jump up and down that often when we get the grade that we didn't expect, like your Green Lantern or this one right here. Like the difference between a 0.5 price and a 2.0 price on this book is way more than the differences that the price is there. This and a 2.0 is worth a lot more than I paid for it. Yeah. So you win some, you lose some. It's just the way it goes. Am I happy to have the books? Yes, I am. Very happy to have the books.
Wait, do another thumbs up so we can have a thumbnail picture.
Thumbnail, man.
Nice.
That's a haul right there.
That's awesome.
So I had to I brought these because I knew that this would spark a kind of a CGC question, and yours too. And just this is an example of, you just really never know that remember that FF3 that I submitted?
Yeah.
The one that was, I got a verified Kirby signature, but it bumped from a 3.5 to a 4.0 just when I said this. So,
no reason.
Yeah. It's absolutely subjective.
Yeah.
And if I were to submit it again, it could be as easily be a 3.0.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? So, it is I won't say it is what it is, but it is what it is.
Yeah. On that big Silver Age collection that I bought at the end of 2024, I got that Avengers book where we agreed that it was a 2.5, right? And getting it graded, my profit margins would have been like a little, they would have been there, but they would have been like pretty small.
Yeah.
But because it came back a 4.0, my profit margin, I made double what I paid for the book.
Jump. Yeah.
Yeah. And so but in that same submission, I submitted a House of Secrets 92, which I thought was going to be a higher grade, which I agreed with this person on. And again, that's, if I don't agree on the grade of a book and the price that they're asking, then I'm not going to buy it. But I agreed with where they had graded the book and what they had priced the book at. And then, what I ended up buying it for, and submitted it because it's above $1,000. It goes through where CGC says we're going to take a percentage of this book or whatever.
Right.
And so because of that, you pay I think it's like minimum like $100 or something like that for grading. And I'm like now way under on the book because it came back pretty much a grade and a half lower than what we had thought it would have been. So
I think you should. That's a book that it might be worth reslapping. But you had said though that the difference in the price doesn't really jump unless you get 4 steps above, which you're not quite going to get.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough because it's like it's got to get. I think it has to get what we had originally graded it at. Right. If it gets a 7.5, which I think it could, like especially if this got an 8.0, I think that book should be in the 7s at least. Yeah. But I think what I need to do is, if I really want to give that book a run for its money, is I need to get the dust shadow cleaned on the back cover, because it's got a pretty significant dust shadow, and I know that takes a little bit more cleaning. That I pretty much just do your basic eraser, heat press. I'm gonna start dabbling into humidifying a book before pressing it, because that actually does help.
Introduces an element of risk, though, for sure.
Yeah, it does. But I think it's, yeah. Anyways, but it does shadow, I think, is a lot more intense cleaning than what I do. So I might have to crack it, send it to
Farm it out.
Yeah, send it to somebody who will do it. But again, like that stuff, I got to calculate. Like, okay, I paid this for the book. Then I had to pay for it to get graded again. So then I put that much more into the book. Okay, if I crack it, then I have to send it to somebody to get properly cleaned. And then I have to get it graded again, which is another $100. So it's, do I want to keep investing, or do I just say, let me just take the loss on this, sell it to somebody, and let them decide if that's what they want to do? So just things I got to think about.
Yeah. You have a different mindset because you're looking to turn these things over. I mean, I sell books too, but not, I have, so by the way, so now I have Fantastic Four the first year, except for 1, 2, 4, and 5. Okay. So there's a problem there, but I do have 3, then 6 through 12 and annual 1. And my annual 1's an 8.0, which is crazy. Nice book. For that square bound annual from 1963. Yeah, that's crazy. But so now what's left on my FF list? FF1 and FF5 aren't really on my list because they're out of my range at the time. At some point I might sell a bunch of books and make it happen, but those two I'm not considering. But 2 and 4 are on my list, and regrettably I have to add issue 13 to my list because if it were just a normal issue I wouldn't. But it's the first Watcher.
Yeah.
Now I want it. I want to. It feels weird not to have that one. So those are those are on my wish list.
I feel like somebody reached out to me about trading for my FF5. They sent me a handful of books. I think I'm just going to tell them not interested. But I feel like you and I could trade for that FF5 that I have.
You think?
I think so.
I don't know, man. I don't think I have.
I think... I think you do have.
I mean, I definitely have.
It's just a matter of,
I don't know if I can.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way to put it. Yeah, you definitely.
I don't know if I can pull the trigger, man. I have so many books. You shouldn't get emotionally attached to things that you ever plan to sell, but I do. I can't help it.
Yeah, because I mean, hey, if I pay,
it's a conversation.
I'm just saying, I would be open to pay it forward what somebody did for me with that book specifically, and I would be willing to do that.
Maybe we can do like a combination trade and cash.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that would make it easier. It's actually easier for me to spend cash, just not that much cash. You know? But like an augment the trade with some cash, maybe. It wouldn't cut into the bones quite so much for me as a collector.
Yeah. So I had it on my last sale for 2.9. That's what and I mean, I got. Somebody wanted to do a what's it called? Payment plan. And I this is what I told him. I was like, I can do 25% or 50% down, non-refundable. 30 days. I couldn't extend it to 60. And they were like, dang, you can't do more than 30. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I ended up telling my wife after. I was like, so the reason why I didn't sell that expensive book on a 60-day payment plan was because this was my thought process, why I limited it to 30 days. So if I did 30 days from the day of the sale, the book would have been gone, out of my hands, shipped, because I would have had I would have gotten all the money. The payment plan would have been done. I'd have shipped the book before the FF movie came out. So if Doom appears in that movie and the book booms again, I'd have no regrets because I'd be like, I sold it before. It's gone. But if I did a 60-day payment plan or a 45-day payment plan with him, I would have the book in my possession still.
But it would be
when the movie would be out. And if the movie's out and Doom is like in a post-credit scene or whatever, and I still have the book, but I can't sell it on the boom, that would suck for me. But it wouldn't bother me as much if I had sold it in this last sale and somebody bought it. That would have been great. Like I'd have been like, cool, somebody got it before the bump. Like, they'll be happy that they either got in on the book before it got big or whatever. So, but it would bug me if Doom is in the movie. I've half sold the book by that point, and it's just sitting in my.
So in other words, if you and I are going to pull off this trade, it has to happen within like the next 2 weeks.
No, it's different with you. No, it's different with you.
But I'm willing to talk about it. Like that is, you know, I've got too many books, man. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had this thing happen to me yesterday. You know, I went to the LCS because
I need to go.
I had to go because
Yeah.
I had some pulls, right?
Yeah.
You know, I've been gone for 5 weeks, and they were very gracious to hold on to that stuff for me. But it was kind of an epiphany for me because I walked in, and you know, I had a stack for me, and it was, you know, right about $100, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $100 a month on new books.
Yeah.
I don't. That's absolutely not what I want to do. But the truth is, that's what I've been doing. I just didn't realize it because I'm doing it 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
That's too much. Like I don't have the room for it, and I have the budget for it, but not if I want to get these other things I'm more interested in getting. So I'm gonna have to go there sometime in the next couple of days and talk to the guy who sets up my pulls and basically stop all the pulls, because I'd rather just go in and buy what I want when I want, but I don't want to spend that. It's weird to feel compelled to buy something you actually in the moment don't want to buy.
Yeah.
But I had to buy it because they pulled it for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's the honorable thing to do.
Right. Yeah.
You have to do it. So it was just an odd feeling, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had the exact same experience maybe back in March or April. I think it was when we had went to Asia, but I hadn't been to the shop in a couple weeks. Basically what happened was I hadn't been to the shop in a few weeks because I know there wasn't anything that I was actively reading that had come out. So it had been about a month-ish since I had gone. But when I had gotten there, there was a stack of books that I had pulled that I'd set to pull way before. So when I got there, it was about the same price, about $100, and I was like, shoot. So I bought it. It was fine because some of it is stuff to sell. Like they're like cool variant covers, but that's more so me like I think that they're like hip hop esque type covers, like where they'll boom up in a little while.
Yeah.
So, but that just means I'm sitting on that for waiting for that.
Yeah.
For people to like catch on. So I did the same thing. I ended up canceling like pretty much everything except for what I'm reading. And I kept what I'm reading. And I even canceled some stuff that I was reading, but I like wasn't really into it.
Yeah.
So I canceled that. And then, I'll add a couple more. I'm probably going to add the new Fantastic Four run because I want to read that.
What I told him before I left, I said, yeah, get me, you know, he said, hey, Marvel Rivals is coming out with some stuff. And I said, yeah, pull the Marvel Rivals because I like that. I think that's good spec. And I just didn't know that they were going to come out with a gazillion different things plus variant covers and the whole thing. And I'm like, I had the stack and 90% of it was Marvel Rivals stuff. And
Wow. Well, you could
not what I didn't sign up for that.
I mean, that stuff sell. People were asking for it in the last claim sale. So,
well, I've got it.
So there you go. Yeah.
When's your next claim sale?
Yeah. But no, I get you too. Yeah.
So, but anyway.
All right, let's speed run some news real quick. So
Okay.
we got quite a bit. I am going to go through all this, but we're going to go fast.
Okay.
This is a rumor. Mark Ruffalo will return as Bruce Banner / Hulk in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Okay.
Sounds cool. I feel like they're only doing it for this one specific moment in comics. This was after everyone's memory was wiped of Peter after the events of Civil War, and Spider-Man is sitting there next to Hulk, and Hulk calls him Peter, and Spider-Man like looks up and he's like, how do you know who I am?
Yeah.
He's like, nobody remembers who I am. And Hulk says, Bruce forget, but Hulk never forget.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's this like really sweet moment. So I
Yeah.
feel like if they're having Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in Spider-Man, they're probably going to try to get that moment in the movie, which would be a pretty cool
That
moment.
would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be great.
There were apparently, this was back in late May, a lot of changes made to Superman. They brought in a new composer as of late May. So
Really?
yeah, there was some like serious editing because they did some test screenings, and it did okay. It didn't do great. It didn't do horrible. People were just like, yeah, that was
a movie.
yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah. Some people were like,
No, we want him blown away.
some people were happy
Superman.
about it. Some people weren't happy about it. Pretty much the same thing happened for Fantastic Four. So these were the test screening reactions. Positives. Galactus is described as terrifying and the best part of the movie. His design looks like he was ripped straight from the comics. The film's plot feels very Lovecraftian with a cosmic horror angle that gives it a lot of personality. Negatives. Viewers felt the characters lacked development, which is something that you worried about. But those things can be changed by simple editing. Like that stuff that they chop off from the first time in the editing room floor. They run it through test screening. They get the reactions and wait, we need to bring that stuff back and we'll cut other stuff out. So worrying slightly, something to be actually truthfully worried about. Not really, because that's all the power of editing. Reed Richards' powers were underwhelming and the thing was barely used. So that's again more editing.
Okay.
So a lot happens. These guys for Superman and Fantastic Four. Well, actually, for Superman, James Gunn claims that the movie is done and it's ready. They could launch it now, pretty much type thing. I don't actually believe that because that's just not how these movies go. Those movies, they tinker with them a lot. So
yeah, James Gunn's maybe copium on that.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there's a finished Superman movie just sitting on a hard drive somewhere and they're just waiting and just doing all this marketing.
That's crazy to think.
Yeah. Maybe it is true. I'm not in the movie making industry, but I just feel like that's not the case. So I feel a lot of these movies, they get tinkered down to the day before it comes out.
They can these days. Yeah.
There's even you hear stories of journalists going to the premiere early in the week. And then they go see it later when the movie actually has a public release, and they're like, that was actually a little bit different than what I saw.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah. Marvel Studios will not have a panel at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
So no major announcements.
So no, because they're probably just, hey, we got FF coming out, we got Doomsday coming out next year. There's nothing else.
That's what you get. Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's fine.
There was a scene from FF that was shown at CCXP Mexico. It includes Sue Storm going into labor on the Fantastic Four spaceship while Silver Surfer chases after them, intent on capturing the newborn. Reed then orders Ben to take them into a black hole.
Oof. See, this is exactly what I said months ago, that the Fantastic Four need to go into space.
Yeah.
They are a space-based superhero group.
Yeah.
And so I'm liking all of that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Negative Zone, black holes, Galactus and the cosmic power of Silver Surfer. That's what I want to hear. I want to see that ship going out that they had. I think it's showing all the right things. At least,
Yeah.
I'm just continue to be enthusiastic about this.
Yeah. I guess this is something that was never actually properly confirmed, but we saw the leaks of the sets and there was rumors of the casting. But Joseph Quinn, who's playing Human Torch, confirmed that Mole Man will appear in Fantastic Four. So,
wait, who will appear?
Mole Man.
Oh, Mole Man, nice. Yeah. Okay, I saw a. They're doing so much cross pollination with FF, with Little Caesars and all kinds of stuff. I saw the Giganto from Fantastic Four 1. Is that going to be in the movie?
Yeah, that's in the movie.
Awesome. That's great. Even if it's just it probably is just a homage FF1.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think they're going to have a nice homage montage of them fighting iconic FF heroes.
Yeah, probably Doom, right? Because at least reference it because Doom's early.
They probably will reference it. I don't know if thwill.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah, because he's
too
being
big to
set
slide
up. Yeah, but I think you'll see Giganto. I think you'll see. I mean, yeah. Well, we saw Giganto in the little teaser. We saw Mole Man. There's still an undisclosed John Malkovich role, right? We don't know who he's playing.
Puppet Master. That would be perfect.
Puppet Master, because he does look like that FF7 or FF8 cover, whatever one it is.
FF8 first Puppet Master. I think it's first Alicia Masters too. Isn't
oh
it?
wow,
it should be. I mean, Ben's girlfriend.
Yeah.
So
I think John Malkovich might be Puppet, and I think there might be as part of the movie where we see the FF just fighting their iconic, maybe even campy supervillains. Mm-hmm. So, okay, next up, Warner Brothers execs tried to push for a standalone Henry Cavill Superman film before James Gunn was hired. Michael Bay was eyed to direct. That's from The Wrap, so pretty reputable.
Yeah.
Which I think we all kind of knew because Henry Cavill was at the end of Black Adam, so it did seem they were setting up like the return of Henry Cavill. But James Gunn, we're getting a complete wipe, refresh. Back to FF. Vanessa Kirby teases how the Fantastic Four will fight Galactus. It's not just adults that have superpowers.
Okay. Again, I think it was in a commercial. You see the shadow of Galactus falling on Herbie and baby Franklin.
Yeah.
That's getting to what you and I kind of were bouncing around when we were doing our, what would the movie be like if we had our way. Galactus is he may be there to devour Earth, but he's going to get distracted by the fact that Franklin Richards comes into being with this power that he has. That's a great little tease of a drop from Vanessa Kirby. I love it. Get you a copy of Fantastic Four Annual 6. It's not too late. It's on the hot list, but you can still, it's ridiculously inexpensive.
I had a copy in my last claim sale from last week and nobody bought it.
Nobody bought it. Was it raw?
Yeah.
What would you say the grade is?
It was like a 3.5.
Okay. Man, I've got like a 5.0. I want like a 7.5 of that bad boy.
Yeah, I think I have 2 copies. I just put the lower one on. Yeah. And I think I have probably about a 5.0, maybe a 6.0. I don't remember. But it's in that range.
And it also is the first Annihilus. But if you go back and look at our old episodes, you'll see there's one where I give some sleeper Franklin Richards appearances where he kind of comes into some of his powers. And those, I think, they're still sleepers. They're even more sleepers now. I mean, Annual 6 is the first appearance, but he's just an infant. It's not really. I mean, it's him, but it isn't him. It's like, I mean, it is. It's acknowledged. We recognize it. The industry has spoken, but snag some of those other ones.
Yeah. Okay, I'll skip that one. Okay, this might be the biggest news in pertains to things that we like and care about. Kevin Feige was asked about the Fantastic Four spaceship in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. This is what he said. Because, there was debate on, like, did you just spoil the FF movie, right? That's kind of like, we're all like a little confused. So Kevin Feige, about that spaceship, says, their ship is the Excelsior, and there is a Fantastic Four ship entering the MCU, but I'm not sure they're the same ship. So, it could... He's pretty much implying that it's a different FF that's flying into the MCU.
So confusing and interesting, intriguing. I guess we just have to wait.
Yeah.
He's not going to spoil it for us.
Fandango, unless you buy your tickets from the movie stand, Fandango said the Fantastic Four First Step sold more tickets in its first day than any other movie this year.
So I'd like to hear. That's what I'd like to hear, y'all. Let's go.
Yep, going for a big opening. Denzel Washington teased this earlier this year. Ryan Coogler confirmed it. Denzel Washington is cast in Black Panther 3.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they're making a Black Panther 3. And as I've said before, can we please have T'Challa back?
Yeah.
That is my earnest plea to the MCU.
So there is a guy that's name has been tied to Black Panther, to T'Challa for a while. And he was doing press for like another movie or a TV show he's in. And they just asked him, like, I've heard rumblings of your name being tied to T'Challa. Is there any truth to it? And he just kind of shrugged. So,
come on, please, you got to bring T'Challa back. It's comic books. He didn't even die in the movie or the comics, but even if he did, you can still bring him back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's
right.
We're totally comfortable with that.
Yeah,
like in the movie, they said he was gone.
Yeah.
So you do have to figure that out somehow.
Yeah.
But you can, because we already know that the ancestors of the Black Panthers live in some other realm, because T'Challa sees his parents, his grandparents, when he first takes the flowers or whatever that thing is, right? Bring him back. Bring him back so FF52 can ascend to where it belongs. You know what I'm talking about. Grossly undervalued book.
It is. Teen Titans will begin casting this fall. Nice.
Is it okay? So Teen Titans, new Teen Titans, like what will they?
I think technically the Teen Titans is like new Teen Titans.
Because you got to have Cyborg. Cyborg's too cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So DC presents 26. First
Yeah.
appearance.
26 or 27?
27.
27, yeah. Okay, skipping here. Yeah, okay. This was June 5th. James Gunn said our last visual effects shot has been finished and dropped into Superman. We are now 100% done. Thanks to all my collaborators. The movie is ready for June 11th. I don't know how much I believe that.
Yeah. You don't believe it. You've already said.
Yeah.
You're not buying it.
Thor 5 is reportedly in the works at Marvel. Taika Waititi will not return to direct. James Gunn has confirmed a Wonder Woman movie is currently in the works at DC. He confirmed that on
Gal Gadot or no?
No Gal Gadot.
Really?
Recast. I mean, they got to recast everybody, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Entertainment Weekly. James Gunn says that the Batman 2 is really important to what they're trying to build at DC. We're supposed to see that script shortly, and I can't wait. I think there was something that came out today that Matt Reeves has to deliver this, or is delivering this script next week. So, yeah, hopefully.
All right.
Everything is still planned for 2027 release, it seems.
DC Comics presents 26. I want to make sure I got that right. Yeah, it was bugging me. Okay.
Tom Holland at CinemaCons in regards to Spider-Man said, I know we left you with a massive cliffhanger at the end of No Way Home. So Spider-Man Brand New Day is a fresh start. It is exactly that. That's all I can say. Hercules project is reportedly in the works at Marvel Studios with Brett Goldstein looking to return. So that's pretty cool.
And that's a Thor key, right? First Hercules is in Thor?
Yeah, Thor, yeah.
Or Journey to Mystery? Okay.
I think Thor, yeah. Marvel Studios reportedly resumed development on the Midnight Suns movie. Pretty cool.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I saw that book, First Midnight Suns, pop up on a hot list recently.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, that's probably why. Okay.
Tom Riz Harries has been cast as Clayface in DC in the DCU. So I've never seen that actor in anything. But yeah, we got our Clayface.
Okay.
James Gunn confirmed it on his Twitter. And Viper and Silver Samurai are rumored to be the villains of Spider-Man Brand New Day, which, I mean, if they want a Spider-Man movie to suck, I guess you can go with those villains. Why are you giving non-Spider-Man villains? Like,
I don't know.
That's. I mean, I think Viper. I don't know much about Viper. I only know her because of Marvel Snap, so she might very well be a Spider-Man villain. I don't think that she is, but whatever. But Silver Samurai has to do with the mutants and X-Men and Wolverine,
Right.
So
It's weird. We all know what we want. We want Black Cat. Let's just get real. about
Yeah.
it. We need to see the Black Cat in the MCU. Everybody wants to see it. It's going to be awesome when they announce the casting and that character is going to pop. We all know it. Let's get on with it.
But like, if you're not gonna give us like Kingpin, like street level, you got to give us something good.
Come on, Viper.
Viper, and I mean, did you even know who Viper was?
No.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know
Yeah,
shit.
that's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
play Marvel Rivals, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's come on, like, give us, if you're not gonna give us Kingpin and a Daredevil team up street level movie, then give us like a flush, like a
Give us Tarantula at least, like something.
Tarantula. Yeah,
I
like
mean, that's not great, but it's something.
or Scorpion, like, because we've seen Scorpion in the movies, like, I don't know.
Right.
Anyways.
Exactly.
But Dara and I have been watching the Marvel movies, and while you were gone, we watched a few of them. But we watched Black Panther 1 and Spider-Man Homecoming, which is the first Tom Holland movie. And we've been watching in timeline order. So not in order of release, but in the order of the MCU timeline. I forgot how good Black Panther 1 was.
It was really
Such a good movie. But I forgot how good Spider-Man Homecoming was. Like, that movie is such, like, just like an 80s teen Breakfast Club.
Yeah. It's a
like,
really good movie.
Ferris Bueller, like, it's so good.
Yeah.
The movie was over and we're like, dang, that's actually a really good Spider-Man movie.
Seems to have mastered the art of making a superhero movie without feeling like it's has to hit all the superhero movie tropes. Like it can be, and if any character could pull that off, it would be Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because he is that way in the comics. Right?
Yeah.
He's you never Lee and Kirby and Ditko. That was it. Ditko never let us forget that Peter Parker was this dorky kid. Like you always had that part of it, you know. But sometimes it can just become larger than life, and Spider-Man movie is indistinguishable from a Superman movie, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And so Homecoming hits those notes nicely.
I think I love the most because he's a sophomore in high school in the movie. And I think what I love like the most is it was just so character driven. Like it was really just Peter like, oh man, I fought with the Avengers. I'm an Avenger now. Like, okay, I want my next task. And they're like, slow your roll. Like, go back to Queens. Be the friendly neighborhood spot. Like that's what Tony Stark says.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, don't call us, we'll call you. And Tony Stark's like, go be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, go do that. And Peter's just like, he thinks he's better than that. Like he's like, I fought with the Avengers, and it's so good because that's exactly what a 15-year-old is going to be thinking. Like the 15-year-olds. I mean, for me, I remember when I was 15, I thought I was smarter than my parents. Like I thought I knew better than everybody else around me. Yeah. And so that's exactly what Peter is going through in the movie is he has to go through this arc of I know better than everybody to then realizing like, oh shoot, I don't. No. My actions have consequences.
So is there anything more awkward than being a sophomore? I mean, I remember being told in high school, I remember being told when I went my first day of sophomore year that, you know, the Greek roots of sophomore are soft and more like are wise and fool. You're a wise fool. You know, Sophia being wisdom and more as the root of moron. Moronic. You're a wise fool. You're wiser than you think you are. You know you're not a freshman, so you think you're all that, but you're still an absolute fool. Is what a sophomore is. This is that's Peter Parker in that moment. He's like, no man, I'm him.
Yeah.
I'm with the Avengers. Let's go. Yeah. And he's not.
No, I wonder
not yet.
I wonder if that's why they intentionally made him a sophomore in that movie.
I think so.
Reason. Yeah,
I'm sure that's why. Because thematically, that's it, right?
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when I go to Italy. I come back talking, spouting all this like, well, in the Greek it says this, and in the Latin it's this. Like, because I was hanging with a guy who teaches that way, and so I rubbed off.
But yeah, and he was like, no, I can't hang out with you, Aunt May. I got to do this. I got to, you know, the Stark internship might call at any moment. He tells his friends like, no, I can't go to the academic decathlon. Like, Stark internship needs me. It's like, no, the Stark internship doesn't need you. Your friends need you. Like that's like, how are you not seeing that? So
and Tony doesn't want him to lose his childhood. Like that's a cool time to be
right, because
a kid.
That's his whole thing is like, my dad did that to me. Like I had a bad relationship with my dad. Yeah. And he's like, that's what he says, I think at the end of the movie is like he's trying to like learn kind of how to interact with him. Yeah. And to be a better father figure than he had. The
relationships are really good in that. It allows Peter's character to develop, but also maybe more so Tony Stark to develop as a character. Like he suddenly Robert Downey Jr. takes him into an arena where he's not just, you know, the guy with the really funny lines. Yeah. But suddenly he's like taking ownership of how Peter sees him.
Yeah.
And that's good stuff.
Well, I think so. He talks about in that movie, like where he tells Peter like if Peter dies, that's on him, like on Tony. Like he's like, that's on me, and he's like, and I gotta live with that. And that whole dialogue that they have, it's after Peter makes the mistake on the ferry, the Staten Island ferry, and that's Tony gives him like a stern talking to, like, hey, like you're not just risking yourself, like you're putting like what I'm kind of being entrusted with at risk and in danger here. And that whole dialogue and Tony talking about like, if you die, it's on me. It sets up Infinity War because Peter does die in Infinity War. Yeah. And so it's like, it really is the like jumping point for Infinity War, because it's like, if you don't have that moment, everybody dies and, you know, the movie still works. But you have that specific moment where Peter, in his strength, is the last one to die because he's like holding on as long as he can before like dissipating, and he what's the word?
Disintegrates or
the dusted. He gets dusted in Tony's arms, and it should be a direct callback to Homecoming, where Tony tells him that. And so the fact that Tony is holding Peter when he gets dusted, I mean, it makes you remember that dialogue, and it makes you realize that now Tony's got a lot of weight on him.
And you're noticing this because you're watching it in the right order.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
yeah, have fun.
Yeah, rewatch it, I think. I think it'd be good.
I should.
Okay, last piece of news here. This is probably the biggest news. X-Men has a director, Jake Schreier of the Thunderbolts.
Okay, well, he that's his reward for making a good movie, right?
So the Thunderbolts underperformed at the box office, which is a shame.
It did?
It underperformed. They lost money.
Oh.
But I think Marvel just saw the online dialogue about the movie and how positively it was received, and they still give him the job for it. So,
well, people don't know who the Thunderbolts are, so it's not going to get that automatic boost on, just people are like me, I'm going to see the Fantastic Four. You couldn't keep me from seeing it. I don't care how bad the reviews
right
hypothetically could be. But you're not probably seeing that much with the Thunderbolts. So
yeah.
But I haven't seen it, but I've been out of the country for 5 weeks. I just couldn't fit it in.
Yeah.
But you loved it. You told me it's a great movie.
Yeah. That's probably. I bet you it's one of those movies that like people might hear the dialogue going on about it, and they're like, oh, "Okay, I'll catch it when it's on Disney Plus." Like, I don't know who the Thunderbolts are.
So how do they rate that? How do they monetize that? I mean, they obviously track it, so they'll be able to see. Well, box office is one way we get one revenue stream, but probably a bigger revenue stream for us is the streaming and how many times it's watched. So,
I think it finished at around 330. Well, I don't think it's technically done. I think you can go see it in the movies if you wanted to. But I'm sure that they're looking at it like, the money it's going to make after some point is not like going to have a big impact. I think it finished at about 339 million.
Okay,
which was under. So.
Well, Fantastic Four, let's go. I want it to be.
I'm excited.
I want it to be. My hope is that it gets like over 700 million. I don't think it's going to get to $1 billion. I don't think it's going to be the Deadpool. I want to see it where people go 3 times because it's a laughing kind of movie. But if it gets over half a billion, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it certainly will. I think both Superman and Fantastic Four, I think they'll be in that 700 million range. I think
Superman's going to make $1 billion. It's just too big of a name. It's too big. I think the time is right for it. I think the world events are right for it. I think it's just everything's breaking in the right way for that movie to be big.
Here's the thing. The pre-sale was good. Not great. Not like FF great. FF pre-sale was better.
I love that. I love that.
I think truly, at the end of the day, when you're looking at like picking a movie, what it's going to come down to is people are generally going to prefer a Marvel movie because DC movies have been horrible, with the exception of the Batman, but they've been horrible for the last 10 years.
Yeah, they have.
And so I think if people are looking at it, and I'm talking average viewer, I'm not talking comic book people, I'm not talking people maybe who don't like comic books but like comic book movies who are going to go see both. I'm just talking about like your average viewer who at the end of the day makes up for more of the like market revenue than like we do.
Right.
But if they're like, oh, okay, Marvel, DC. Well, Marvel's made some spotty stuff, but their last movie was good. I didn't see that. Fantastic Four, like I know that like that name rings a little bit more of a bell. Like I'll go see that. Oh, and it's Pedro Pascal. Oh, okay, like yeah, I'll go see that. Like, but when you look at Superman, it's just like DC, James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, probably is more helpful than hurtful. But you're like, who's in the movie?
Right.
Like, so I think if the average viewer is like, I have to pick a movie to see this month, I think the Pedro Pascal thing is really like, if you're picking between Pedro Pascal and James Gunn, like if those are like the two biggest names that are like drawing, I think Pedro Pascal is going to beat out James Gunn almost most of the time.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably going to be, but hopefully they'll both break north of 500 million and, be profitable. I just incidentally, when I was in Budapest, I was in front of a room speaking to a classroom full of high school students, and they're all English speakers over there. They learn it as a second language. So I asked them, just because I was curious. I said, "Are you guys excited about the Superman movie or the Fantastic Four movie?"
Wow.
No, they're like, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Interesting.
I was kind of surprised by that, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought they would be, but because they definitely were into U.S. culture, they were.
Yeah.
But they weren't feeling it. So I don't know. We'll see. Right?
You said get out of
It's
here.
just one room
You said I don't
in
want
one country.
get out of my presence.
You're all dead to me now. What's wrong with y'all?
I started a book recently, since we're on the topic of MCU. I started listening to a book recently called, it's called MCU, but there's a subtitle name to it. What is the actual? It is called The Reign of Marvel Studios. And pretty much, I started it while you were gone, when I went to the Philippines, and I started listening to it on the way there and on the way back, and I've been listening to it on my walks. And it's just like this deep dive history. Remember how I listened to that book that you recommended, All the Marvels?
Yeah.
It's just like a deep dive history of Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
It was essentially the same thing, but with the MC or with Marvel's movie studios. So all the way back to the 90s.
Oh, fun.
Even like that FF movie that never saw the light of day.
Oh, really? They talk about that? That's cool.
Yeah. So there's just some interesting things that I wrote down. So Marvel went bankrupt. That's selling off these
mid-90s.
Yeah. So there was actually, and I didn't know this, there was two guys, David Mizell, I think that was his first name, and Avi Arad. You'll still see Avi Arad's name on like Sony, on like Spider-Man movies. I think you still see his name. If you go watch like the Garfield one, Andrew Garfield ones, the Tobey Maguire ones, you'll see his name. So these two guys in the early days of Marvel Studios, they came in at different times. Avi Arad came in first. And his whole idea was, and this is why Marvel Studios today is in the predicament that they're in. So Avi Arad was like, okay, we have all these properties. We need to make movies. We don't want to put up the money to make the movies. So let's license out the characters so that other studios can make the movies. And then we'll take a percentage. So that's why you have Spider-Man at Sony, X-Men FF at Fox. And so you just have these different. His whole thing was licensing. He was like, let's license everything pretty much.
Yeah, we have properties.
Yeah, and he was like, and we don't have to put up any money. We're not risking any money. We're not taking on like any loans. We're not taking on any debt. We're not owing anybody anything. We have this IP. We'll license it out. We'll take a percentage. They can make the big bucks. And that sounds like a good idea, but you run into a lot of kind of short and long-term problems. You're not making much. You're not taking the risk. Short-term, good. Long-term, these movies become incredibly successful, and you're making percentages of billion-dollar like trilogies,
tiny pieces.
And so long-term, not great. So then there's obviously some frustration that goes on with like studio heads and owners, and they're like, okay, well, we own the characters. Can we take it back and make the movies? It's like, well, that's not like the contracts that we signed. We can't really do that. So then they pretty much like move on from Avi Arad, and they go to this guy, David Mizell. And this guy says, we're going to fundraise. We're going to fundraise as much money as possible. We're going to go to investors.
Okay.
They had like a line of credit at a bank, but they also went to fundraise from other places. And he's like, we have these characters. We're going to get as much money as we possibly can, and then we're going to make these movies.
That we didn't license, like Iron Man.
Yeah. So that's why you have these early. That's why Iron Man 1 is an indie movie, is because that was the amount of money that they could get. And that's why I think, I'm trying to remember, I think
It's a great story.
I think RDJ made like $50,000 for Iron Man 1.
Gosh.
So it's like, yeah, when he's
Yeah.
getting paid $10 million or whatever for Doomsday, it's like, yeah, let's not forget the fact that he made Iron Man 1 for $50,000.
Right.
And there was like,
Yeah, they kind of took a chance on him because I think he was coming trying to make a comeback.
yeah, but like Terrence Howard made like $5 million or something like that.
That's
for playing Rhodey.
That's just unreal how
Yeah.
that works.
So it was pretty cool hearing how they were like, yeah, sure, just like sign these characters off. And then like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and like those X-Men movies make so much money.
Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah. Sam
Yeah.
Raimi
Yeah.
and then Bryan Singer with X-Men. They make so much money. And so they're like, oh, shoot. Like, we gotta,
Yeah.
we want to make that much money. We don't want them. Like, those are our characters.
But that's the reason Iron Man in the movies is the kind of the top of the pyramid, which it isn't true in the comics.
Yeah.
But Iron Man was not licensed because nobody was getting in line not licensed Iron Man. He wasn't really. He was a side dude at best. It's just and it's just so interesting how it is a business and how the financials of it.
Yeah.
You know, because here we are, 25 years later, 30 years later, and Iron Man is one of because of RDJ is so incredibly popular.
Yeah. They didn't want RDJ at first. They thought he was. I mean, he came with a lot of baggage.
Mm-hmm. But he's perfect because Tony Stark does too.
Yeah. So
I mean, he can really own. That's him. He is Tony Stark.
Yeah. So that was cool. And they like pretty much RDJ after that signed on. Obviously, they pretty much knew that they were like when the movie was like done, they pretty much knew they were sitting on like gold. They were like, okay, this is something different.
Because RDJ is an incredibly talented actor. And they're like, if we get good RDJ, we got a good story. If we get good RDJ, and they did, and then they're like, we scored.
Yeah. So when Iron Man 2 comes around, obviously RDJ is getting a pay bump, so he gets a pay bump. And then they're looking at Terrence Howard, who was just coming off winning an Oscar or being nominated for an Oscar, which is why he got paid $5 million on the first movie. When the second one comes around, they're like, okay, well, you're not bringing as much to the table as we thought, because he had like some ego issues throughout the movie. Like he wanted more screen time. When they were like, well, you're not
you're not him.
Yeah, like already like this is an Iron Man movie. So second one came around, they wanted to pay him less. They wanted to pay him $2 million. Yeah. They wanted to pay RDJ, I think it was like $10 million. Sorry, $100 million is what RDJ is making for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So they bumped RDJ up to $10 million, and they wanted to bring Terrence Howard down to $2 million. And Terrence was like, what in the world? I should be getting what he's making, if not more. And they were like, no, not really. We're also not afraid to recast you. And then he was like, he pretty much was like, I made RDJ who he was. Like, RDJ should be taking a sacrifice for me. Like, so he takes a lot of credit for RDJ's Iron Man, which is like,
why? How?
Yeah, I don't really see how. So that's when they were like, okay, like, well, $2 million is our offer. If you don't want that, we'll recast. So that's when they ended up recasting to Don Cheadle, and they only paid Don Cheadle $1 million. So he got $1 million on Iron Man 2. And they called him. It's funny. The story is they called him, and he was at his kid's birthday party because he had auditioned before. And they were like, yeah, can you let us know? Like, or they were like, do you want the job? And he was like, I got to tell you now. And they're like, yeah, like, because we're starting filming soon. So we're kind of going down the list. And he's like, well, I'm at my kid's birthday party. And so in the book, it's like, oh, like, we're so sorry. You can have 2 hours. Let us know 2 hours. So he had 2 hours while he's at his kid's birthday party to figure out if he wanted to join this thing.
Absolutely a good career move for him.
And so he just said he went and talked to his wife.
And Terrence Howard is like, I blew it. I could have been like a mainstay in the MCU.
I think he's still bitter about it. I've seen some modern stuff where he still does claim that like he is the reason why RDJ who he is today. Which, all right.
Really? Interesting. What did he give him some acting lessons or something? I don't get it.
I don't know. Okay. Another thing I found interesting, I'll just talk about 2 more points in this book that so far, is the Hulk Universal deal. This is like a totally different type of deal compared to like the Spider-Man and the X-Men and Fantastic Four. So I've always been confused on how this works because they have free reign to use Hulk whenever. And they don't have to pay another studio
Yeah.
like residuals, or because if the MCU Disney wants to use Spider-Man, then they have to pay Sony, or they have to work out a deal where
Right.
Sony gets a percentage of the movie. They don't have to do that with Hulk, but they also can't make a solo Hulk movie. So I'm like, I've never understood how that works. So this book, thank you, explained it. So basically, they gave title rights to Universal, like to make a solo movie. Or they gave the full rights to make the movie. I jumped out a little bit. David Mizell and the Marvel studio went back to Universal, and they were like, hey, if you're not going to make a movie, we want to. And they were like, we're not really like interested. So they ended up working out this whole deal with Universal. And I mean, we're talking toy rights, clothing rights.
Yeah.
Like you're talking everything is involved. I won't get into the nitty gritty of that. But this was the movie rights that they ended up working with Universal. They have free use of Hulk without Universal Creatives input if Hulk is in a movie. But if Hulk is in the title, then Universal has to have creative input on that. So that's why all of Hulk's arc has been in other movies, from Avengers, Thor, yeah.
Thor Ragnarok versus like World War Hulk or whatever, right?
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, Planet Hulk.
Yeah, Planet Hulk. So
Right. Oh, that's cool.
So, but if he's in
a
the
lot.
Yeah, but if he's in the title, then at that point Universal can say, okay, now we want input. Which is so weird, because it's like that's such a weird deal to negotiate, because it's like, what's the point? Like,
They just don't want them. They have the rights for the headliner movie.
it's like if you're letting him be used free reign. Like literally that was like you have free reign to use him as long as he's not in the title.
They probably didn't envision an MCU. They couldn't imagine a world where Hulk would be in a movie and not be in the title of a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how would you pull that off exactly? Like Hulk is massive.
Yeah.
And not literally, and also just figuratively speaking, as a character. Who's going to make an Avengers movie? Like,
Yeah.
And that's probably what they were thinking. They were thinking, Hulk is only, Hulk had his own TV show.
Yeah.
So the only way you would see Hulk in the movies would be a Hulk headliner. So they probably didn't think they were giving anything away at all.
Yeah.
When they said, well, if he just shows up in one of your movies, and thinking that could never happen was my guess.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's interesting. That's really, you got to cover all your bases when you're making these deals, I guess.
Yeah. And the toy stuff, the merch, like all those types of things are crazy.
The lunch boxes.
Yeah. Those are crazy.
Airline
like
sales,
that stuff's important, and that stuff is where there's a lot of money made.
So okay, in this, I mentioned I was in front of this classroom, and we were talking about different things that I do when I teach, and then we opened it up to the students to ask questions, and a student asked us a question. He said, "What do you think the most influential movie ever made was?" And I thought about it.
Madam Web.
And I said, said the unreleased Fantastic Four movie was because it allowed them to maintain the rights. No, I thought about it, and I said, well, I could give you the standard answer, like historical, say like Citizen Kane or whatever.
Casablanca.
I said, but I don't really like Citizen Kane. It bores me, and people tell me how significant it was and all that, but I'm not really the authority on that. I said, Star Wars. I said, the reason I think it's Star Wars is because before then you never really had the phenomenon that Star Wars was, the blockbuster that Star Wars was, the wait in line for 2 weeks to see a movie that Star Wars was. But I said, but more significantly that was the first time you saw a movie generate more income from toys and T-shirts and lunchboxes and dolls and blankets and posters than the movie itself. As big as the movie was, it was the biggest selling movie of all time when it came out. But George Lucas was a genius because he said, I would like to have the rights to all the ancillary stuff, all the games and toys. And like, okay, fine. I didn't even think about it, like, yeah, whatever. And that he made way more money on this. He's like, you and I both have Star Wars T-shirts. Like, where there's still, you have Star Wars, you have a Star Wars poster. Like, they're still making this stuff.
Yeah.
And all that money goes to Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Lucas, like he never sold those rights.
Yeah.
And so I said that sparked a whole new way of thinking about how a movie gets funded, how a movie gets sold and marketed, and now we don't even think about it when a movie comes out and you can get the Happy Meal at McDonald's. Like we don't. That's just obvious. Or Fantastic Four is marketing with Chuck E. Cheese. Like that's just part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Not before Star Wars.
Yeah.
Not before Star Wars. And I said, so you say what you like about the movie. I mean, it was does it hold up to the test of time? I think it does, maybe because I have nostalgia to it, but I mean, it was massive when it came out.
Yeah.
And I think that was a pretty good answer. Like, there are other answers, but I think that's a pretty good, solid answer. And
I mean,
yeah.
When you think of like pop culture impact, I mean, it doesn't really get bigger than Star Wars.
No, it didn't. It doesn't. And it spawned the whole blockbuster movie craze. Like, how do we make a blockbuster summer movie? I mean, Jaws, you could say, kind of did that too a couple years before. But anyway, and I asked the kid later because we were at a museum together later. So this is a Hungarian kid, smart, really smart, young man. And I asked him what he thought the most influential movies were, and he agreed with me about Star Wars. And I think Star Wars, yeah, definitely. He mentioned The Godfather, which can't argue with that, right? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then he said one that I didn't expect. He said Saving Private Ryan. He thought Saving Private Ryan was influential because of its how real it was, its verisimilitude, that people, veterans who went to watch the movie, changed the way we shoot, I guess, war movies or whatever. But I mean, I'd never thought of Saving Private Ryan in that vein.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why I was disappointed that none of them, in retrospect, said they were looking forward to these two massive comic book blockbusters. It's not like they're unaware of American pop culture. They are. But anyway, Star Wars was a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Oh yeah, last thing. I didn't know this. Chris Evans said, I just finished reading a chapter about like casting and actors coming into audition. Chris Evans said no twice. He told Marvel no to being Captain America twice.
Why? Is it because I'm already the Human Torch?
I think, well, that was kind of part of it was like, I've been part of these movies. And one, he just said like the phenomena of it all. He's not sure if he like wants to go through that. He said he liked kind of being able to, when the movie was done, he could go back home. He could live his life, like done filming or whatever.
Right.
He went back home, live his life. But with these movies, one, he can't do that. No. So he like wants part of his life, and just wasn't sure if he could like handle the phenomena of it all.
Right.
And him saying no twice is literally why Marvel was like, this guy needs to be our Captain America. Because when you're thinking about casting Captain America, they were like, okay, they've cast some Brits, right? Like Loki, Tom Hiddleston, and some others. And they're like, well, we really need this guy to be American. Okay, when you look at Captain America, what does he stand for? Like, who is he? What does he represent? And ultimately, what it comes down to is he is the ultimate, like, example in comics of humility.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Chris Evans was like, I don't know, I really don't think, like, I really just like my quiet life. And they saw that in the auditions too, like that came through. And I mean, that comes through in the movies. It's like, he really does have like this selfless. Yeah. And so they were like, look, man, we really like,
you're the guy,
want you. So they asked him once, said no. So like, okay, they went, did more auditions, and they just couldn't find anybody that had that like American charm and like that sense of humility. So then they offered him again and he said no. And then they bring in the big guns. They're like, hey, RDJ, can you talk to him? So RDJ actually called.
He closed the deal?
Yeah, nice. He called him and he was like, hey, you need to say yes.
Does Terrence Howard get credit for that too?
Nope.
Okay.
But you might think he does. But yeah, so he calls Chris Evans and he's like, hey, you need to take this deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, but I want to do like this stuff. And RDJ told him, he's like, you need to take this deal because it's going to secure you financially so that you can go and make the movies that you want. And he's like, but if you don't take this, people aren't going to know who you are. And this is going to help put your name out there in a way that you wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, you're a headliner after that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Chris Evans has had some struggles post Captain America that he's even said. He has said, I haven't picked the best movies. So he's still trying to figure it out. But I don't know. I think he's fun to watch. There is a movie actually I love this movie. You and Deb should watch this movie.
Okay.
It's a rom-com. I think it came out like after Captain America. It was like pretty early on.
Okay.
So he did Captain America in 2011. This movie came out 2014. It's called Before We Go. It takes place in one night. So
okay. I like those types of movies.
it's basically like he's a jazz musician. He's playing like the saxophone like in a train station.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah, and this like really panicked girl, like he kind of like comes into contact with like this really panicked girl who's like running back and forth, and they end up just spending the rest of the night together, like throughout New York. I watched it once when I was a single hopeless romantic, and I was like,
it reminds me of a movie when I was I'm dating Debbie, but it was called Before Sunrise, and it by Ethan Hawke as a young man, and he's out in Europe and he meets a girl and they spend the night together, just like wandering through the city, and he's got to leave the next day, and I won't spoil it, but it has a similar like.
They probably have the same ending.
Who knows? But yeah, it's funny because I was really missing Deb when I was in Italy, and so on the flight home, I was into all the romantic movies. I watched The Lake House, which is I'd never seen the Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock movie. Which is pretty sappy, but also really cool.
Yeah.
Time travel esque. I really liked that movie. And then I watched another time travel romance, The Time Traveler's Wife, which is a really cool movie. So like I was all about it, man. I was into it. So I'm in that vein right now. So I'm up for it. Yeah.
I recommend. That's honestly, it might be my favorite like Chris Evans movie.
Before We Go.
Before We Go.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
if
a.
I
It's
forget, I
a
can always watch the podcast.
Yeah. All right, you can text me.
We've created a record. That might be fast.
You also have my number. So
I
you can't text. But yeah, I say if you're are you reading the 5th Stormbreaker book right now?
I finished it.
Oh, you did.
I'm all done. I'm between series right now and lining up what do I want to read. I already said I'm reading the Hickman stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like that's out and sitting on my desk. But I've got a few books on Audible that I want to listen to. The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco has been recommended to me, and it's about Italy, so
Nice.
probably now's the time to try to read it. Then I'm not sure.
Yeah.
After that, I've got a few thoughts.
This one's pretty short. It's not like 10-hour listen. So for you, that's like a week of.
I'll listen
driving.
to that. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's
Okay.
Chadwick Boseman auditioned to be Drax.
Oh my gosh! What?
Yeah.
No, that would have been such a miscast. He was awesome as Black Panther. He was perfect.
Well, that's how they find these guys. Is they come in and they audition. So like this whole audition chapter is like, a lot of these actors came in and auditioned for stuff, and we were like, we like what you have, or we like what you're bringing to the table, but this is not the character for you. But we're gonna call you.
No, that's great.
So like Sebastian Stan auditioned for Captain America, and their whole thing was he's great, but he has this edge to him that we can't really explain. That Captain America doesn't have this edge.
Right.
So we're gonna cast you as Bucky because we want to do the Winter Soldier, and that's where that edge is gonna be useful.
Yeah, they got that dark, brooding
Yeah.
thing.
So it's like it's crazy. It's really cool. Like, man, I knew casting was like a very serious thing. Obviously, something to take serious, but there's so much like thought and like nuance to it.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it. Well, I'm excited about the next movies. How soon does FF1 come out? The first one is Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, and then July 11th is Superman, and then July 20 something.
Okay, so we've got time.
Yeah.
All right. I certainly don't want to rush my summer away. No.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah, glad to have you back.
Yeah, great to be back. This is a lot of fun. I missed it.
Yeah. It's glad. I've pretty much been comicless the last 5 months.
Well, me too, and that's probably good because I'm probably spending too much money. But
So thanks everybody for watching.
yeah,
Make sure you're here next week because next week is our 1 year
yeah.
anniversary. We're not at episode 52. Obviously, we just took the last 2 weeks off or 3 weeks, and then we've had
a few
taken some
travel days,
holidays.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but next week will be 1 year since posting.
That's pretty great.
So we'll have a special announcement. Specifically, we'll have a giveaway that we'll be doing, and we'll be giving away a book that we've talked about a few times.
Yeah.
Here as a sleeper book. Not crazy high grade, not high grade at all.
Yeah.
But a copy nonetheless.
We should have a cake or something.
Yeah. Do you like ice cream cake?
I do.
We'll get an ice cream cake.
All right. I get it decorated,
Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram at Spros_comics. You can follow Mr. Longbox on Instagram at Mr.Longbox. And we hope to see you next week.
Yeah. See you
See you
later.
guys.
Bye.